go. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So today we have completed the sixth juz or the sixth para, and a verse that is highlighted in this para is Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum ni'mati wa atmamtu alaykum wa raditu lakum al-Islam deena. But Allah Ta'ala says, today I have perfected your deen for you. Islam is the final religion of Allah and a perfect way of life. وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي, and I have completed my favor upon you. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, and I have chosen Islam as your way of life. So the ultimate favor of Allah upon humanity is His choice of Islam as the only true and lasting path of success for all of humanity up to the day of Qiyamah. Right? And how? When we say Islam is a perfect religion, if we look at the outside world and we see how perfectly Allah has balanced the system of the world. Allah is the creator of the physical world, and Allah has created it in perfect balance. If we look at just the gravity of the gravity of earth is strong enough to keep everything grounded, but it is not so strong that it makes life difficult. It makes movement difficult. So look at the perfection in the gravity that Allah has created. If we take water, Allah has created water, such a system that water evaporates, clouds form, and continuously fresh, clean rain comes. And it ensures that if Allah had to send all of the water at one time, the world would have been overwhelmed with floods. And if Allah had restricted the sending of water, then there would have been drought. So even in the water cycle, Allah has created a perfect system. If we take the human body, just one single concept of the heartbeat, that the heart beats at a perfect rate. It is not, the beat is not too much, that the supply of blood is too much, and neither is it too little, that the supply of blood becomes too little in the body to over or to underwork the body. So this also perfectly balanced. Just day and night, if we take day and night, the perfect balance of day and night. So like that, how the outer world, Allah has created a perfect system with perfect balance. Likewise, the deen of Islam is completely and perfectly balanced. That Allah has kept the 5 salah, and Allah has spaced it throughout the day in such a way that a person is perfectly spiritually connected to Allah. If we take the amount of zakat, the amount that Allah has stipulated for us to distribute zakat, it is completely perfect, that it ensures that if every Muslim in the world pays his zakat, then there would be no poverty in the world. So Allah's system of zakat and distribution of wealth has been perfectly balanced. The fasting in the month of Ramadan, not too much, not too little, completely perfect, so that we can train ourselves towards the mindfulness of Allah and develop a sense of gratitude for the favors of Allah upon us. If we take marriage and family laws, that the system marriage is a divine system of Allah that provides love, companionship, and in the same time preserves morality and societal balance. Haram and halal food. Allah has made halal nourishing foods and has forbidden haram substances such like alcohol and pork, ensuring that we have both physical and spiritual well-being in our food. In the judicial system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is perfect. The system that Allah has created in terms of the law and to establish justice and to prevent crime, that system has been perfectly balanced. So in all of this, we see that Islam is a completely perfectly balanced system and a completely perfect way of life. Ulama mentioned that one of the major maqasid, one of the most important objectives of Islam is protection from harm. And in one of the other verses, Allah Ta'ala speaks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and those believers that only these are the ones that ensure and are concerned about your eternal well-being, your protection and your care. That Allah mentions the hierarchy of protection, that innama waliyukumullahu wa rasuluhu, that only Allah is your true guardian and protector, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah and Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, if you follow the commands of Allah and the sunnats of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you will find in there complete protection and care. And the third group that Allah speaks about is the people of Iman, and Allah mentions a few of their qualities, which we'll get to now. When we speak about Allah being our guardian, then if we look at the Shariat, every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is filled with perfect wisdom and protection and well-being of every one of us. If we take Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was thrown in the fire, what did he say? Hasbi Allah. Allah is sufficient for me. My responsibility was to fulfill the command of Allah. If Allah is pleased with me being placed in the fire, then I am happy with Allah's decree upon me. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded that fire. Kulna ya naru kuni barda wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Allah commanded that fire to become peaceful and tranquil and cooling for Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. So, in adhering to the commands of Allah ta'ala, Allah has kept our protection and our well-being. When it comes to the sunnah of Nabi alayhi salatu salam, just one simple sunnah, the sunnah of eating. In the month of Ramadan, we become particular, and every other day, that the sunnah is to eat 1/3 of our stomachs full, 1/3 to suffice with water, and 1/3 to keep the stomach empty. Just by this one single sunnah, there is so much of our well-being in that. It facilitates the digestion of our food. It helps in weight management, and it promotes overall excellent health and well-being. So in every sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is protection and care and well-being for us. And when it comes to the third, Allah Ta'ala says that only these types of believers will worry about your well-being. So when you are choosing a friend, and when you are considering to be a friend of a believer, then you should look for a person who has these three characteristics. That these believers, the ones who possess these three attributes, will remain loyal to you, and they will care and protect you. And what are the three qualities that Allah mentions? Imagine Allah places these believers in the same category of protecting and care as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Allah ta'ala says that they are those that first yuqeemoon as-salah. Allah didn't say they just read their salah. Yuqeemoon. They fulfill the obligation of salah perfectly. That they worry about their wudu. They worry for the males, they read their salah with jamaat. There is concern and worry all the time that I need to ensure that I fulfill the obligation of salah. Because a person who is worried about fulfilling the obligations of Allah, he will be even more concerned about fulfilling his obligations of others. The rights of others upon him, he will be just as concerned. But if a person doesn't have the concern of the right of Allah, he's not going to have in his heart the worry of the right of others. So when it comes to himself, that responsibility of salah is a loving responsibility upon him, that he lovingly and willingly is wanting, looking forward to perform salah. And like that, if he looks forward to obeying Allah, he will look forward to fulfilling the rights of others. He will not treat it as a burden. He will treat it as an honor, as a privilege to respect parents, to show kindness to the youngsters, to show respect to the elders, to fulfill the rights of the weak, the orphans, the widows. He will willingly and happily, considering it a privilege and an honor, he will fulfill these obligations. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. He will discharge his zakat from his wealth. So like I say, when a person has the well-being of others in his heart, then he will spend happily over and above the amount of zakat. If he willingly discharges this obligation of zakat, then he will happily give over and above that to ensure to the well-being of others. And the third quality that Allah speaks about is that وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ, they bow and submit themselves before Allah. That this is a quality, ulama say that it refers to being humble and modest and never becoming proud and arrogant over their deeds. That you, after doing all of this good, after fulfilling huququllah, fulfilling the obligations of Allah, after fulfilling huququl ibad, the rights of others, after doing all of this, they remain humble and modest and they do not become proud and arrogant over their deeds. So Allah Ta'ala says, Innama waliyukum, that you're true, the ones that are truly concerned about your well-being and your care and your protection are only three. It is Allah. When you fulfill the commands of Allah, Allah will care and be your guardian and see to you. Then the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his dua, it is said that on the day of Qiyamah, it is Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam who will be waiting for us at Hawd al-Kawthar. And how will he recognize us? By the shine of our limbs of body when we made wudu. When we make wudu, that the limbs that water touched during wudu, they will shine on the day of Qiyamah. Nabi alayhi salatu salam will recognize us and he will give us water from Hawd al-Kawthar. So this is our eternal well-being, not just in this world, but in the akhirah also. Nabi alayhi salatu salam's care and consideration and protection will be seen even there. And the category of those believers who perform their salah, who discharge their zakat, and have the quality of humility in them. These are the three categories that worry and have concern for you. So when you are choosing your friends when it comes to believers, these are the kind of believers we should befriend. Those that perform their salah, that worry about the discharge of their obligations to Allah and their obligations to others, because they will worry about being your well-being and they will be concerned about being a well-wisher to you. Anyone out of this is not concerned about your well-wishing and your well-being. There is an ulterior motive behind it. And thereafter Allah gives this promise that وَمَن يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. The promise of Allah is whoever displays their loyalty to Allah, fulfills the commands of Allah, His Messenger, does everything according to the Sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and is loyal to the believers, that they are worried about the well-being of each and every Muslim and the entire humanity at large. Allah says, give to them the good news. فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. They will be the ones who will gain dominance. And if we see even the Muslims in the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that small number of Muslims, ultimately Allah Ta'ala gave them victory over Makkatul Mukarramah, and the whole Arab world witnessed that small group and band of Muslims that initially accepted Islam. Today they have grown so big and strong that they are conquering Makkah without any fighting taking place. And in the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the same thing happened. Khulafai Rashideen, Allah gave them dominance and Allah Ta'ala gave them rule over the land, and they ruled with justice and fairness so that the world could see that when Islam is practiced in its full glory, then with it will come the peace and the protection of human life that Allah has promised in the religion of Islam. Allah give us correct understanding of deen and the ability to practice on deen. Subhanallah.